In Mass Effect Andromeda's multiplayer, you are part of an Apex team, the best of the best the Nexus has to offer. While not a regular group of soldiers, they are nonetheless talented individuals that take on the most dangerous and important missions in this new galaxy. In this series, we are going to take a look at the various class builds for the various characters in the game's multiplayer. So with that in mind, I'm Darcblade, and let's take a look at the next Mass Effect Andromeda Multiplayer character, the Krogan Engineer. Now, as always, remember that these guides are aimed at the harder difficulties in the game, looking at rank 10, level 20 characters. However, there will be some tips for lower ranked characters so long as they're level 20 later on in the video. One of the first female Krogans that we actually ever get to play as, the Krogan Engineer, bears similarities to Mass Effect 3's Human Engineer, although with Andromeda's mechanics functions slightly differently. On top of that, she is also a Krogan and incredibly durable. With that, I spec the Krogan Engineer as follows. I start by going up to rank 4 in Overload, putting points into recharge speed over damage. I'm primarily going to be using Overload as a detonator for this class, so being able to use it as much as possible is optimal. If you did want to max the ability out, dropping points elsewhere, probably Assault Turret, then I would probably go up to rank 6, putting points into EMP over maximum charge, as a charged up Overload already hits multiple opponents and you rarely get more than 3 grouped up together at a time. And then finally with rank 5, I would put points into Anti-Shield over charged Overload, again for the same reason. Next with Assault Turret, I maxed this out, going up to rank 6, putting points into Cryo Ammo over Flamethrower. Now both of these are viable choices, it's just down to personal preference. I personally like the armor debuff that Cryo Ammo gives. It also increases the turret's overall damage as well. Flamethrower is good, but it requires enemies to get close to the turret in order for the Flamethrower to start working. Cryo Ammo also provides a small amount of crowd control, as it can freeze unprotected targets at distance. Now the only thing is, at the time of this video, if you don't play as host, then Cryo Ammo will not prime for cryo combos, in which case take Flamethrower. However, if you do often play as host, then Cryo Ammo is completely viable. Flamethrower as well, on the other hand, will set up targets for fire combos. Next, with rank 5, I put points into Omnilink over damage. Damage is fine, especially if you don't stand close to your turret. If you prefer to roam around the map, then damage is probably the optimal choice here. However, Omnilink, if you stay near your turret, you will be able to heal your turret, but not only that, it will decrease your tech recharge speed. And as all of your abilities are tech based, this is quite a nice bonus. The only downside is you have to stay close to your turret. And finally with rank 4, I put points into recharge speed over durability. Now both of these are perfectly viable. Durability is probably better if you like to stay in a hunkered down single position, whilst recharge speed means that you can quickly reposition the turret should it get destroyed or you need to relocate. Next with Incinerate, I maxed this out, going up to rank 6, putting points into Detonator over Double Incinerate. This is simply so Incinerate can now trigger combos as well as prime them. As with Assault Turret with Cryo Ammo or Flamethrower, and Overload being an unwritten primer, you can now use Incinerate to set off both cryo and tech combos. Next with rank 5, I put points into Impact over Anti-Armor. Impact will increase the damage against all types of foes, whilst Anti-Armor focuses solely on armoured opponents. And finally with rank 4, I put points into Radius over Burning. Burning is fine and deals a nice amount of damage, but Radius means that you can potentially prime 2 targets for fire combos. Next, I max out Offensive Tech, going up to rank 6, putting points into Elemental Tech over Weapon Mass Reduction. This is because this character is a tech-based heavy class, and inflicting a status effect, whether it be from your Assault Turret's Cryo Ammo or Flamethrower, or from the burning effect of Incinerate, it means it will increase all further elemental damage against that target. Very useful for this character. Next with rank 5, I put points into Anti-Shield over Anti-Armor. This is solely so Incinerate can still deal decent damage against shielded opponents, but in retrospect both these options are quite good. And finally with rank 4, I put points into Combo Detonation over Power Enhancement. This is because I am using this character primarily as a combo focused character. And finally with the Rage passive, I'll go up to rank 4, putting points into Resilience to increase my health and shields a little bit, as well as gain some damage resistance while enraged over Melee. This is because I'm not really going to use the character as a melee character at all. Even though she is a Krogan and has melee potential, her other abilities come in far more useful. As for weaponry, it doesn't really matter too much what you take, as long as you take something you're comfortable with and has a high level. Just make sure though that you don't go over that 100% recharge speed. And finally with gear, take something to primarily increase either your tech damage or improve your survivability. Now moving on to the heart of the episode to talk about the moves and abilities the Krogan Engineer has at her disposal. First is Overload, an electric tech-based ability that, when used, it will unleash an electric static discharge at targets. Also, if you hold the ability button down, it can be charged up. This causes Overload to chain to 2 additional targets, hitting 3 in total. The damage is decent as well with this ability, but on top of that it will deal bonus damage to shielded targets, as long as they got their shields up, and synthetic enemies, so that's the entirety of the Remnant race, as well as enemies like Hydras. Overload can also be used as a detonator as well, so it can be used to activate combos, whether it be tech, fire, cryo, or biotic combos. You can use Overload to set them off. In the Krogan Engineer's case, you're primarily looking at Overload to set off cryo explosions from your assault turret, if you have cryo ammo of course, and targets that have been hit by Incinerate. However, there is an unwritten aspect of Overload. At the time of this video, Overload can also be used to prime targets. However, the window to actually activate the combo set up by Overload is incredibly small. In the Krogan Engineer's case, with points in Detonator and Incinerate, you can hit a target with Overload, quickly follow it up with Incinerate, and then it will set up and set off a tech combo, creating an electric static cage around the target hit. This provides a small area of crowd control as it will stun enemies in the area. Overload is also an instant cast ability, so as soon as you highlight an enemy, use it, it will pretty much hit that enemy, even if they're slightly behind cover. Also, enemies hit with Overload will stagger a little bit. This indicates that they are primed for the tech combo, but this also provides you a small respite from an enemy's assault. The next ability is Assault Turret. Once the ability button is used, the Krogan Engineer will throw out a disc that will then transform it into a small assault turret that floats in place. The assault turret will then continue to attack any nearby target. The distance it can attack is quite far as well. With points in cryo armor, you have a chance to also debuff enemies, reducing the effectiveness of armored targets and potentially completely freezing and thus immobilizing unprotected targets, so targets without armor or shields. Completely frozen targets are then set up for a cryo explosion, which can be then set off by Overload or Incinerate. However, if you do prefer Flamethrower, then instead, when it comes to enemies attacking the turret at close range, the assault turret will instead sprout a plume of fire at the enemy's location, priming them for a fire combo, which can be then set off with Overload or Incinerate. With recent changes to the game's multiplayer as well, as soon as you've thrown the assault turret, the cooldown for the ability will start to tick down, meaning that normally by the time it's destroyed or you need to relocate, the cooldown should be off and you should be able to throw it again. You can also self-destruct the turret. By holding down the ability button again, the Krogan Engineer will tap on their Omni tool and the turret will explode, dealing slight damage to any enemy nearby. You can also direct the turret by just simply tapping the ability button at the target you want the turret to shoot at. However, this has to be in line of sight of the turret. The major downside of the turret is that it is an AI controlled component of the Krogan Engineer, and thus, even though you can tell the turret who to aim at, there is a slight element of randomness to this ability. However, I found that the assault turret works best on the Krogan Engineer class when compared to some of the other classes that have the assault turret available to them. Just remember to take advantage of the Omni-Link talent in the assault turret talent tree, as it gives you a reduced cooldown on all your abilities. This can really help in inflicting the elemental tech debuff to opponents, as well as set up and set off more combos. The third and final ability is Incinerate. Once used, the Krogan Engineer will fire a flame-based plasma projectile from their Omni tool. This projectile is quite slow moving but can arc around cover so long as you've targeted enemies. Once hit, it will deal fire damage to that target, dealing damage on the initial hit but also leaving a damage over time burn effect on the target. This damage is also increased against armoured foes, so enemies with yellow health bars. Unprotected foes who are burning will also start to panic, giving you a small respite as they try to extinguish the flames. The main reason for Incinerate though on this class is to prime targets for fire combos. Fire combos being probably one of the more powerful combos in the game. However, you can only prime armoured or unprotected foes, so enemies with shields won't be primed for fire combos. And once the target is primed and you see them burning, hit them with Overload to create a fire combo. This creates a large fire explosion but also leaves a nasty damage over time effect on the target. Now with points in Incinerate rank 6 Detonator, you can still create combos on shielded opponents. This is thanks to Overload and its unwritten priming ability. So on shielded targets, hit them with Overload and quickly follow it up with Incinerate to create a tech combo on shielded opponents. On all other opponents, use Incinerate then Overload to create a fire combo instead. And then if you should happen to notice any opponent that is frozen thanks to your assault turret, use either Overload or Incinerate to create cryo explosions on those targets. The only downside about Incinerate and having points in Detonator is that if Incinerate was used as a detonator, then it won't also prime the target at the same time. So you can't use Incinerate to, say, activate a cryo combo on a frozen target and then follow that up again with overload to create a fire combo on that same target. However, you can do this rotation if you just change it up a bit. When you see a frozen target, use overload and then quickly use Incinerate and you'll go cryo combo, tech combo if you so wish. So there's lots of options for combos with this class. You can also increase this with elemental ammo boosters. As for the passives with offensive tech, like I said already, with rank 6 elemental tech, this benefits not only yourself but your entire team as it increases elemental damage against target inflicted by one of your elemental status effects, such as the burning effect from Incinerate, or maybe the freezing or flamethrower effects of your assault turret. This also benefits you if you're using consumable ammo types like cryo ammo, incendiary ammo and so on. The only other big thing about elemental tech is increasing your combo damage and radius for this character. As with rage, although it's not maxed out, you still have the ability to trigger rage mode. You do this by getting 3 melee kills, after which you'll have your melee damage increased and gain damage resistance for a short period. However, I'm not really using this character at all as a melee based character, and it will be hard to get those 3 melee kills unless it's against weaker foes. With that in mind, I've primarily put points into rage simply to increase my health and shields. On the whole, the Krogan Engineer has a lot more health than the average class, but they have average to below average shields. However, that increase in health means that they are really durable and able to survive a lot. As a result, they are generally slow moving, they have a standard dodge used by their jetpacks on their back, and the other downside is that they cannot stay airborne for that long. Their melee attack on the other hand though is a Krogan headbutt. That is generally stronger than most of the melees in the game. Now as for weaponry, like I said, just take something you're comfortable with, so long as you keep that 100% recharge speed. Now if you don't have a rank 10 Krogan Engineer, I would still advise maxing out Incinerate first, turning it into a detonator so you can use it alongside Overload. Afterwards I would take Overload to the point where you can get recharge speed, and then go up to rank 4 in offensive tech to get that combo damage increase. Afterwards it's a case of trying to balance out rage and assault turret. Overall, the Krogan Engineer is a power reliant class, and with the buffs that came with patch 1.05, she's been made into a powerhouse of a character. She is reliant, like I said, on power damage over weapon damage and melee attacks, but thanks to her kit and the sheer amount of combos that she can potentially create, she can easily take on the harder difficulties in the game. Now remember, these builds work best for me, and if you do want to change it slightly, that's perfectly okay. For example, one suggestion or edit I would maybe advise people is that if you don't like Assault Turret, maybe drop all points in the ability and max out Overload and Rage. The main reason I have taken Assault Turret was for cryo ammo, and I know there's a little bug with it at the moment, but in future it may be fixed, and for the Omni-Link talent, which increases your recharge speed of all of her abilities, making it very useful. Anyway, I hope this guide helped, and until next time, I've been Darcblade, bringing you my Mass Effect Andromeda Multiplayer class guide to the Krogan Engineer. Hope you enjoyed the video, thanks for watching, subscribe and like for more.